Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. This is Brock Beard from NASCAR.info coming at you after the conclusion of the Richmond race, the second Richmond race, this on September the 11th, 2021. And unofficially, Martin Truex Jr. With his first win, or his first win since May at Darlington, first win in the playoffs, that is, coming back from a pit road penalty last week at Darlington. And again, another pit road penalty to start this race off, jumping the start, even though he inherited the pole from Kyle Larson, who dropped to the back of the field. Truex coming back, and much like Ernie Irvan in the 1992 Save Mart Supermarkets 300, coming back to pull off the victory and do so in dramatic fashion there. So kudos to Truex there, first and foremost. Of course, I think we're going to go ahead and bring back our waiting for technical inspection aspect of the show here, and we'll certainly wait that out here in the meantime. Let's see. Hopefully the sound's coming through okay here. We're using the webcam microphone again here tonight as I'm kind of reorganizing my audio here a little bit going forward. Kind of a typical Richmond race in a lot of ways. Richmond has given way to a lot of long green flag runs in these last few rounds, and very low attrition in particular. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, we've had very few drivers drop out of the race. If you hit any of these walls with sufficient force, you're going to be knocked out of the event and very likely going to have a last place finish. The mechanical failure actually that also happened to Justin Haley in the spring race happened after the first lap, and everybody else finished the event within 16 laps of the leader. I believe this time around, everybody finished within 15 laps of the leader, with Josh Bilicki in the next to last position. Had a great 9/11 themed paint job there, honoring the 343 firefighters lost that day. And Bilicki with a uniform that actually looked kind of like a firefighter's uniform was an interesting touch on that as well. Unfortunately, didn't have a great run out there, but we ended with the race with the car having all 4 fenders on it and finishing in the 36th spot. Not to be said for Kurt Busch in 37th, who unofficially now has his 10th last place finish in his Cup Series career, his 3rd of the season, which now ties in with Ricky Stenhouse and Eric Almirola for most this year. I believe we'll see how it stacks up there in the results. I think Almirola and Stenhouse are still ahead of them in bottom 5s and bottom 10s. Really a big turnaround given the fact that since his last time that Busch has been featured on the NASCAR site was back at the 600, where he returned from the garage area that had an engine failure there. Ever since that stretch, he's had just a great resurgence, the win in Atlanta, a lot of great top 10 runs, but a scary accident in the early stages of the event. And it was good to see him get back out of the car and be checked into the infield care center there afterwards. Certainly shadows of Jerry Nadeau's accident back in 2003. Made mention of that earlier during the event here as well. Of course, back before they had the safer barrier or the current amount of safety equipment that's in these cars, Nadeau had a very similar looking accident to that, entering turns 1 and 2, slapping the wall with the driver's side of the car and having to actually be cut out of the car in the aftermath of that. Still had some very significant damage to the driver's side of Kurt's car, but it looked like, at least from the indications during the broadcast, that he was able to get out of the car under his own power and climb into the ambulance to be checked out there. Nevertheless, the result is for Kurt Busch, again, a last place finish that is now going to put him very close to the bubble for the playoffs going into Bristol next week. Bristol, a track that Kurt has been very good at in his career, not only scoring his first win, but being almost too dominant in the years that would follow that, going up against the likes of Rusty Wallace and other competitors that had traditionally been ones that you had to take a win away from if you had any chance of actually pulling off a victory at that track. So Kurt will be one that'll be one to watch here going into Bristol next week and seeing if he makes the round of 12. And the next elimination rounds are to be coming after that as well. So interesting stories on that side. Bubba Wallace, and about the only other incident that we saw really during the broadcast there, brushing the wall after an issue at the right front of his car, dropping back to the 32nd spot, finishing 12 laps down under the unofficial results here, but still ahead of a few drivers that were lapped in the early stages, namely 3 of the 4 Rick Ware entries, with Quinn Houff in the mix there in the 35th spot. The one entry, actually, where is the other one here? Yaley was 34th, Bilicki 36th, Gase in 33rd, and Smithley just ahead of Bubba Wallace, 11 laps down in 31st. Very surprising. Yaley actually seems to have some of the best runs for Rick Ware's team, but Smithley, who has struggled here and there, good to see him have a better run here at that standpoint. I mean, certainly, not wanting to finish out of the top 30 is not the goal for most teams, but again, trying to finish best in class is a good start there. Good to see Smithley get a good run under difficult circumstances. Of course, hoping Cody Ware's doing okay as he continues to recover from carbon monoxide poisoning suffered over in Darlington last week. Smithley jumping aboard this weekend. I would expect most likely next week at Bristol as well, since Ware has indicated that he's not going to be in that race. A lot of driver changes really this weekend. I think that ended up being kind of one of the other storylines to follow along the way, not just in the Cup Series, but especially in the Xfinity Series. And we'll certainly get into that as well. Other names with surprising runs. I mean, Chase Briscoe, solid 16th spot. I don't think he got featured most of the night. Ryan Blaney, they talked a lot about him finally getting a decent run at Richmond after struggling here so much, finishing in the 10th spot there. First car 1 lap down at the finish. Kyle Busch being in the same situation that Truex was last week. Seemed to have the win in hand in the late stages. Pit road speeding penalty ended up spelling the difference, dropping him back into the 9th spot. Still an improvement from the crash that took him out of the race at Darlington last week, but finds himself in a different situation there. Ross Chastain picking up for his teammate Kurt Busch here, having another top 10 run, still looking to try to score one more victory for the Chip Ganassi effort before the end of the year. I'm sure Kurt is, of course, looking ahead to that as well. Not only is he good at Bristol, but, of course, Las Vegas, side of one of his most recent Cup Series wins, is another track to look at there as well in the coming weeks. So hopefully a good stretch of races that he can get himself back into contention. Kyle Larson was a bit off this time around. Larson being as dominant as he's been, didn't really see as much of him in this one. Of course, part of that was also dropping to the back of the field after he was going to start on pole position, dropping to the back of the field for a technical inspection violation in pre-race inspection. Larson still finishing in the 6th spot here, not quite able to recover quite as well as Truex was. Hamlin just short of getting his 2nd straight win in the 2nd spot there, was gaining there at the end, couldn't quite do it. Christopher Bell in the 3rd spot, and Kyle Busch's penalty, all that separated Joe Gibbs Racing from seemingly about to match Hendrick Motorsports and getting the top 4 spots with their cars, coming up just short here in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and the 9th spot here unofficially in the results here. And we'll wait and see what the results are from technical inspection there as well. So, again, it's good to see a good competitive night race here. I mean, I know it may not have had the most, dramatic moments there at the finish of the event, but certainly a race that you still had some good contenders going for the lead and a little bit of strategy thrown into the mix. I know that stage racing has kind of turned a lot of that on its ear in recent times, but definitely something else that to look ahead on there. I thought the pre-race ceremonies were very good as well, too, for sure. Good to kind of see at the same time. Yeah, kind of interesting with the left rear issue for Kurt. I don't know if that tire was going down the whole distance or if he ran over something on pit road. I guess that could be kind of a theme with the Xfinity race as well, with the mechanical issues suffered by some drivers at the back of the field there. But regardless, the result was very much the same there for his team. Let's see. Said maybe it was leaking. Yeah, I heard some of that. Also heard it sounded like that he ran over some debris there. I think it was Pockrass that tweeted something about a cut in the tire that was found after the fact. So we'll find out on that. All righty. So thank you guys again for tuning in tonight. I know it's late on the East Coast there, about 11 o'clock there for you guys, 8:19 here on the West Coast. And we'll jump into the Xfinity Series results as well from earlier today rather. Your winner on the Xfinity Series side, Noah Gragson, getting his 2nd straight victory, now thoroughly shaking off a lot of the frustrations that he's had this summer. Justin Haley was in the position that Hamlin was tonight, and in trying to catch the leader there, but running out of time there, finishing the 2nd spot. Great job by John Hunter Nemechek in the 3rd spot. Sam Hunt Racing, I believe that's their best finish ever, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly one of the best runs they've ever had. Great run there from 27th on the grid. The back of the field, however, was a little bit different. CJ McLaughlin, driving for Mike Harmon Racing, ran over something on the track that caused an issue in the transmission, leaking transmission fluid, apparently messed up some lines inside the car there as well, and forced him behind the wall for several laps, came back out on track. Stephen Light having very similar issues as well, something with the track bar, as well as the left front wheel was an issue. They had to spend some time behind the wall, and both drivers seemed to be on the very much the verge of being black flagged off the track for running minimum speed. Ultimately, Light was able to finish the race under power in the 38th spot, multiple laps down. But CJ McLaughlin, in serving his penalty, came down pit road, crossed the nose of Jade Buford going into turn 3. It caused an incident that brought out the caution flag. I almost want to say Curry again because I know Bailey Curry's run the 74 a lot, but McLaughlin ends up pulling behind the wall out of the race, listed under a crash, but ultimately a number of other incidents, including the clutch issue at the beginning and, of course, the minimum speed issue there too. Regardless, the number 74 in last place, as confirmed by Pockrass earlier this afternoon, the announcement that there were no issues in technical inspection, at least in terms of disqualifications, and McLaughlin now officially your last place finisher for that event. Landon Castle getting in the 39th spot there. Stephen Light in 38th. Tommy Joe Martins, absolutely the biggest heartbreak of this event. Definitely want to jump on this. The tire strategy in stage 1 almost worked out into his first ever stage victory. Was just moments away from pulling it off there. Unfortunately, lap traffic did become a factor in the finish of that, specifically David Starr's car that was looking to stay on the lead lap. You had Martins pulling around, AJ Allmendinger to take the lead, pulling away there. Negotiating traffic, always a challenge at the short tracks, and today was certainly no exception there. And just by the slightest of intervals there, Allmendinger was able to beat Martins to the line in the first time that they've run the actual Alpha Prime paint scheme that apparently is going to be the run for most of the races next year, as Raja Caruth and Cesar Baccarella are going to be sharing the ride with Martins next year as Martin scales back to a part-time effort. I know there's been a lot of despair one way or the other. It's like, oh gosh, is he ever going to have another chance again at winning a stage or even a race? I think that's a really big positive to really look at Martins here. We've seen some other races, I think even at Darlington, where they've worked out tire strategy to try to get some good runs in these stages. Mike Harmon Racing had done that last year. Motorsports Business Management here and there as well. A lot of these small teams trying to work this strategy out. But Martin's team seems to really find the way to actually kind of get some good performances. And I think this is going to be the first of many that they can actually compete and get some of these good finishes. Certainly would have been good today to see him actually get a green-white checkered, especially in spite of what happened afterwards with the spin and then ultimately the tire failure that dropped him into the bottom 5 here. But great run, and I think and great screen time, of course, for the team and the sponsor. And I think a lot of excitement building for next year. It's the only thing I wish the broadcasters would have talked more about is that this is really part of the debut of this new effort for next year and this new turning of the page for the 44 team and hopefully taking the next step in their progress, maybe building up to something like we've seen out of GMS Racing or our Motorsports or Colleague Racing even that they were competing against. These teams that have really built up in these last couple of years trying to be much more competitive in short order, and getting some experience running at the front can only help. So disappointing run for Martins. It's unfortunate for him, but I know that he was certainly excited there during the earlier stages of that, and certainly hoping that that's going to be a sign of much better things for him and his team to come there. Jade Buford rounding out the bottom 5 after the right front damage suffered in the incident with McLaughlin. When McLaughlin went to the garage area, Mike Harmon specifically was very vocal over the radio, saying that NASCAR shouldn't have black flagged them so close to the end of a stage where everybody's racing for position and stage points, and being so tricky to try to pull across the track. It did seem like that did have some kind of a factor in the accident there. Now, can that say that excuses the incident with Jade Buford? I don't think so. What I'd like to know is if there was some kind of mechanical issue, because it did seem like McLaughlin slowed on the back straightaway before he came down to cross the nose of the number 48 car. Maybe it was a desperation move, just trying to get out of the way of traffic with some kind of emergency on track. You could dissect that one any number of ways as to whether that should have been handled that way. But then, of course, there's the other factor on top of all of this that Motorsports Business Management was bringing up during the event, where they couldn't hear NASCAR's radio channel. At least the 66 team couldn't. And according to them, some other teams in their section of pit road couldn't hear it. Whether that included Mike Harmon Racing Team, that could probably be looked at a bit closer there as well to indicate perhaps why that incident happened between Buford and the 74 car there towards the end of the Xfinity race earlier today. Certainly didn't help, but I think there was a lot of factors coming in there, and unfortunately Buford got caught up in that. I don't know what kind of run he was having to that point, but certainly didn't help with, again, very low attrition in the Xfinity race, dropping the 48 car back in the lineup there as well. So David Starr, after the incident there with Martins, ends up finishing in the 28th spot there, one spot behind Bailey Curry, who had a spin of his own, driving the number 15 car for the first time. Colby Howard, after announcing his deal with the Truck Series next year, apparently moved around at JD Motorsports. I don't know if he was completely released at the 15, but lost his ride this week and put Bailey Curry in the car instead. So kind of an interesting turn of events there. I'm not exactly sure what happened on that end. That was one of a few driver changes here. Akinori Ogata coming into the Xfinity Series driving for Jimmy Means Racing. We talked last week about the announcement that Means made that he's been having difficulty filling spots for the last 5 races of the season. We're not even to that point here, and apparently had similar issues for this Richmond race here, putting Ogata into the car there and finishing further back in the lineup in the 34th spot for him. Other drivers in the lineup there, AJ Allmendinger, after the strong run there in stage 1, ends up 18th in the lineup there, behind Mason Massey, who's been very impressive, I got to say. Massey, in these last few races, he drove the 17 car, I believe, last week or the week before, had a decent top 20 run, and here again, from 34th on the grid to the 17th spot, so great run by him. Again, Bristol coming up next week. That was the race that he missed the first half of it because of an issue on the 78 car, or the 99 car, I believe, at the time, and came back out there and completed more than half the distance and was able to climb out of last place there. I think that kid's got some real talent and hopefully gets a bit more attention coming up in the future here. Finished just a few spots behind Dale Earnhardt Jr., of all people. Finished in the 14th spot in his only Xfinity Series race of the season. I'm still not a big fan of Dale Jr. running these Xfinity races. I think he should much better. I think the real value to Junior's presence out there is what he does on the podcast, what he does in his broadcast, what he does in everything else in terms of being that kind of connection between the sport's past and its present. I know that apparently there's indications that he likes running these Xfinity races, not just to feed that competitive spirit, but also kind of get more acclimated to the way these cars handle and understand them better. And I guess there's ways you can do that. Just seems like there's other ways you can do that besides actually, running in these races. But, it is what it is. And I'm sure the crowd was excited for him to be there. And we'll see where that goes from there. I'm just always thinking of the Neil Bonnet situation from 94. And, obviously, I'm sure that's something that, Junior doesn't have to be told about because it was obviously an event that affected his father very profoundly. But I think once somebody goes into the booth, I think that's probably a good time to just commit to that and do that. But again, safety features are what they are. He's running slower tracks. I think that's a good measure there for him. And, certainly, if the guy wants to do it, then that's what he wants to do. So there you go. Brandon Brown with a top 10 run there, finishing in the 8th spot just behind Ty Gibbs. Daniel Hemrick, once again, not scoring his first win, finishing in the 6th spot. We talked about John Hunter Nemechek, Alex Labay in the top 20 there in 19th, which is kind of a disappointing run for him. He seems to actually be fighting for top 10s lately. Ryan Sieg, it was good to see him actually trying to battle for position, ends up in the 13th spot. Just having a disastrous season for him. But good to see him kind of turn it around a little bit. Michael Annett in a 22nd spot, getting back in the 1 car. Ty Dillon getting back in the 0-2. Brett Moffitt once again on the sidelines this week. Ty Dillon finishing in the 11th spot there. Again, Dillon trying to capitalize on whatever runs he can get with whichever team he's able to run. When he was running the 54 earlier this year or the 96 for the Gaunt brothers, it's been a bit of a gap in the schedule for both of those teams. So perhaps in this opportunity here, it's good that he's on the speed dial there to get back into one of these cars and still have a good run out there, coming from, really from dropping the back of the field for the driver change, I believe, and finishing in the 11th spot. Yeah, he did drop to the rear. He dropped to the rear with Bailey Curry and Ogata here in the results. So, yeah, unfortunate deal for Landon Castle getting in the bottom 5 there. Had an ignition failure that stalled him on the entrance of pit road, finishing in the 39th spot. But again, Light, Martins, and Buford rounding out the bottom 5. Noah Gragson, your winner. So let's see. Yeah, there we go. The 9 car in first, and then the 11 car in second. Yeah, again, almost had that again in this race here too. Before issues for Chase Elliott, very bizarre. And going back to the today's Cup Series race, overshooting the pits. I mean, he thought he overshot the pit stall, had a bit of contact from Ross Chastain, just all kinds of stuff happening in rapid succession. Crew is so fast; they already got the jack under the right side of the car. When Chase is backing up the car, seemed to roll the jack over and bend it up, so they had to pull that out and get another jack. And what could have been, I think with any other team, that could have been easily like, a 30-second stop or something. But Chase Elliott's team, I thought, recovered from that surprisingly well. It almost looked like they were going back to doing what they did in Martinsville last year, where they tried to reestablish their position, thinking it was a penalty. There was a bit of confusion there. But once they figured out they were on the same page, they kind of regrouped decently well there and getting back out there and had a better run than they would have had ordinarily, if things had completely gone haywire in that situation. But certainly no Richmond victory for Chase Elliott this time around. Alrighty. Oh, it's a Smoke D01 watching from North Wilkesboro. Right on. I'm glad you got some bars out there. So you get some reception out there to check out the show. So thank you for tuning in for sure. Alrighty, so let me get into this. If you have any other questions here for the Xfinity or the Cup Series races, I know we kind of blasted through them a little quickly here tonight, but with a later night show, I figure we kind of space things out a little bit more towards the end as we wait for technical inspection results here. Okay, so I do have something for our show and tell segment tonight. We'll do trivia here as well. In the meantime, I got a couple of announcements here. Let me go ahead and bring this up here right off the bat. So good thing here on this. So our next show next week for Bristol is actually going to be on Sunday. I do have a social obligation here in town on Saturday night, so I won't be able to do the show right after the Bristol race. But I do plan on doing the show on Sunday. The good news is also what I'm also planning at the same time is Rise of the Field Fillers Episode 8. I'll drop the trailer after the show here tonight. I've already put advance access. If you're already in the Patreon, you've already been able to check that out here in the meantime. But episode 8, I am looking on releasing that next Sunday. And so I'm going to pair that up and have basically a live stream to sum up Bristol and the Rise of the Field Fillers episode. And that'll be good because that'll tie that in before we go to Las Vegas and do the Las Vegas coverage during that week. So I'll make a more formal announcement on that coming forward here. So everybody has the information on that, obviously being a late night tonight. But yes, the episode 8 of Rise of the Field Fillers is coming together well, and I hope to be done with that this week here and to do a release next Sunday to tie in with the Bristol show there as well. So look forward to that. So I know what's happening on this channel. It's kind of looked like it's been more of a vlogger channel here lately. So I want to make sure to be clear about that, that's not really the full-time direction on that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video that I posted last week on the announcement for the NBC introduction thing. That's something I've always kind of played around with in the car, and I was excited after the starting grids last week. It's like, well, maybe this is another suggestion. I was thinking more in terms of like this is the way that Rick Allen or whoever's the main guy in the booth should kind of lead into the races, because I think the music they have is set up in such a way that you could hit that note in the song, and like the Speed World theme kind of lead in that way. I was thinking of it more in that standpoint. And of course, if I'm doing that, I'm going to, say my own name along the way. I think it felt silly trying to say Rick Allen or something like that. But if things turn out that way, you never know at the same time. I guess you could say it's kind of an audition. But if they're open to starting grids, I'm hoping they're open to fine tuning other aspects of their broadcast. That would be certainly something to bring up there at the same time. I got to say, as I mentioned on Twitter as well, on that same note, I'm really dissatisfied with the way that Richmond is broadcast. I think that this race would be a lot more popular if the camera angles were cleaned up quite a bit. I think, and this was pointed out by a couple other people as well during that same discussion, it seems like this track, even on both networks, they just focus so tightly on the cars. And since the track is so much turns, it's basically like, almost a perfect circle, except for the back straightaway there. the camera's always swinging this way and swinging that way, and some of those shots, like in turn 3, a lot of the cars just kind of disappear, and you could miss what's happening if something happens at the apex of the corner, or then you get like these trick shots, like that camera that dips at the starting line. I think it just gets disorienting. I mean, there's one part of tonight's race where they were kind of doing that like 3 laps in a row, and it was just getting absurd. So again, just kind of back the cameras up a bit more and get a better view of it. I don't know if that means like put an infield camera in turn 2 or turn 1 and have that point at turn 3, get something from a distance, or a backstretch shot from the outside in turn 3 down that way to kind of see how loose the cars get, or maybe from the opposite end from turn 2 down the back straightaway, kind of like Phoenix does, where you see how loose drivers get off the corner, something that captures that better. It just seems like whenever we do Richmond, it's nothing but a series of trick shots from one to the next, and it's very hard to see the race that's happening. And even when the field gets kind of strung out, like you have a race like tonight, it just gets more distracting, I think. And I think this track kind of is more susceptible to that. It is traditionally known as the action track, but I think perhaps a little bit too much action is not particularly helpful in that situation there as well. But that's kind of my thought of that on that too. Glenn 7000, I see your comment there asking about when the new edition of the J.D. McDuffie book is coming out. So that is actually currently available right now. The audio book of the, I call it J.D. the second edition. That is already available in audiobook on Amazon. I can drop the link here in the chat here as well, so you can check that out. You can also listen to a sample of it. There is a digital version of that currently available as well. So it is available both as an ebook and as an audiobook. In terms of paperback, that has not been finished yet. That's still in the works here. That was something I'd hoped to get done during the Olympic break. Kind of ran out of time on that because it required a lot more edits to it. Looking into options there about getting that republished that way. But the advantage is, in the meantime, that if you're interested in the new edition of that, that's still available. Anglin 7000, if you have purchased the previous audiobook before, or the previous book, and you're interested in the new audiobook, let me know. I have some free codes on that, so you can check that out as well. I can drop you either a DM on Twitter or send me an email there. I do have a limited number of codes, and it's only for people in the U.S. and Canada, because that's the only ones that Amazon has that currently available in. But I do have those available for anybody that's interested. So while supplies last, that's there as well. But thank you guys for supporting that there. And so, yes, the second edition of the JD book is still available. On the same note there, the Derek Cope book is coming together. I have actually just this week sent a new copy of the manuscript to the Copes. So waiting to kind of get some notes on that. No timeline on that so far here. That's something else I kind of want to work on further down the line. I want to make sure that, we're all on the same page there before we kind of progress any further on that. No new news on the publication front there as well. Hoping to get something to kind of together on that, but we'll, of course, have more information on that as we get going here. And then in the meantime, I'm working on more content here for the YouTube channel. So again, not just the Rise of the Field Fillers episode. I've also had some more research completed for some other shorter videos to come up along here, especially leading into the off season here. I hope that that'll be something I'll be able to spend more time on here and kind of produce some more content here for you guys to check out as well. So much more to look forward to there. Let's see. They're already spoken on the rumored LA Coliseum Busch Clash MLG Pro Swag 69. No, I haven't spoken about that yet. I've been wondering if that's still not just a complete pie in the sky rumor. I'm having a hard time believing that they're going to do that because LA is very fickle when it comes to sports. That same Coliseum hosted our Oakland Raiders down there for a while, and it seemed to be okay for a bit, but it was not a situation where they were able to sell themselves. Now, of course, you have a situation where the Raiders are down in Las Vegas and spending even more money behind that, and who knows what's going to happen on that end there. I think NASCAR is going to find themselves in a difficult situation there as well, especially given the fact that in Fontana, they're already talking about reconfiguring that track over there. I don't get the exact effort for that. It seems like a very backwards 2004 kind of thought process. I mean, doing it back then would have made a lot more sense. Make it, do a special exhibition race on some crazy short track here. I'm not sure. I'll tell you what, if they are doing it, I'll look very seriously into actually covering it, because I think it's going to be kind of a crazy event. It wouldn't be too hard to get back down there for. Not entirely sold that they're going to actually do it, though. I think that's going to be kind of up in the air. But apparently the rumors seem to indicate that. And then, of course, the schedule apparently is going to come out the next week or so. And I've been hearing the indications about Gateway being added to the schedule in place of perhaps one of the Pocono races. Nothing confirmed on that. But that'll be interesting to look at there as well. Gateway certainly had some great Truck Series races and some decent Xfinity races as well. Seeing the Cup Series guys out there would be something unique, even though it's a flat track and everything. But who knows how the next gen car is going to handle that as well. Then, of course, you have to talk about the next gen test at Daytona. I was very intrigued by what they were showing, at least what little we were able to see from the pack racing there, and that it wasn't strictly pack racing. They weren't locked onto their bumpers. Now, I know it was a smaller number of cars. What was it, like 7 or 8 cars out there? But it seemed like drivers could actually kind of move around a little bit and try different lines through the corners rather than just matting it to the floor and you're just kind of pinned in this pack. I don't know if that'll bunch up more if you get 40 of those cars out there or even 20 of them out there for the duels thereabouts. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm still pleased that there are some paint schemes out there that are being run with the numbers in the proper spot. I'm not impressed with what I'm seeing so far with the numbers moved forward. They are slightly better than what we saw to Kurt Busch's car for the 45. I think they really did pick the worst possible paint job to introduce this new format there on the cars. Now, we've seen kind of ugly paint jobs for debuts before. I remember when Bill Elliott made his debut at Dodge, they kind of did this very bizarre looking car where even the nose was quite different. And they had one where they put the 94 on the side of it in the style of the Evernham font. They took the 4 off and it still looked kind of weird. They ended up kind of polishing that off a little bit too. So maybe we're in that zone there. But I'm still not sold on the ones with the numbers moved up there a bit. It's still the lesser of two evils versus moving the numbers back. It still kind of looks like the car is advancing. It kind of charges forward. It kind of leans into it. But aesthetically, it still just looks off. And even the best one of those, which was the Chastain version for the 42, I don't think that looked too great either. But they're trying to make something work here. But yeah, not sure. I think one of the best ones I saw was the renders somebody did of the JTG Darty entries where they change the sponsor every week. But then kind of standardize where the number is and have half the paint scheme be kind of standardized too. That seemed to actually kind of work. That looked better, but it's going to be a problem. And I know that there's a lot of this debate, a lot of this debate on the other side where it's like, oh, is this important? It's like, well, you are going to try to sell merch, right? You're trying to sell sponsorship, right? You're trying to attract fans, aren't you? The aesthetics of a sport do matter. I mean, if we had a NFL game and they decided, okay, well, we're not going to have the grass be green. We're going to have it be pink with purple stripes. Like, okay, well, does it really matter? It's still grass. Well, but maybe it's going to look kind of stupid. So, it kind of does matter. And especially if it's something like the field in a football game where you can't avoid seeing it, it kind of does matter. And yeah, NASCAR's had a history where the numbers have been in different places, of course, and this has been beaten to death already in every debate about it. But at the same time, it looked good for what purpose it had, and it was also from a time period where the sport was trying to find itself, and there weren't any standards because it didn't exist yet. The fabulous Hudson Hornet is one kind of thing there, but the branding worked great with the shape of the car, and now we have a time where the car's shape is standardized. And does it lend itself to this kind of sponsor arrangement? That's something that could be debated, certainly for somebody that designs paint schemes. That wouldn't be myself, but certainly others out there. But I've seen some better options. Again, I still think of Noah's paint job for the 23 on the door there of the McDonald's car where they had the number really tall. I think that's the secret to this. If they have the number be really tall there, even bigger than the numbers actually are currently on the doors, I think that's the trick to making that paint scheme look better. And then maybe narrowing them up to fit kind of that panel where the contingency decals used to be. That seems to be the trick. By dropping it low, by kind of placing it in the middle, by kind of even moving it up too high in the top right, those don't seem to be the best option. I think it's where the JTG ones look decent is because their numbers are already pretty tall, especially the 47. It almost fits a perfect vertical rectangle. and it kind of fits that space pretty well. Hopefully that's something that kind of gets looked at more. Now, again, is that still going to look perfect? Yeah, probably not, but it'll be closer to it. I think, again, you're trying to sell merch, you're trying to sell sponsorship, and you're trying to also keep people from turning the TV off. So aesthetics do matter. They really do. And if they don't matter, then why is this issue being brought up to begin with? So it's stupid. It's stupid. But that's kind of where we are right now. Yeah, if only the contingencies weren't rendered obsolete. Exactly. Yeah, it would have been great. I always thought those had a cool look to it, and had little details about it, which one and which teams had which decals. That was cool. Alexandra, welcome back here from Brazil. Good to have our international contingent in here as well. Just wrapped up our discussion here from the Xfinity and the Cup races. Of course, if you have any questions from those that I haven't covered so far, I'll certainly leave the floor open on that as well. Let me keep the Pocris page open and find out what we got here. We'll jump into our show and tell segment here along with trivia here coming up. All right. Playoff grid, Truex wins. Okay, nothing new on that yet. Okay. So we'll go ahead and do our trivia part, and then I have my we'll do the show and tell there while you guys pick which category you'd like here for tonight. Thank you again for sticking around here. Wow, we got 34 people here for a late Saturday evening. Thank you again for everybody tuning in here. The categories again are NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. These are your categories for tonight. NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild cards. You can go ahead and join in with any of your whichever category you prefer. We'll do some questions from there to wrap up the show for tonight while we wait for technical inspection results. So for our show and tell segment tonight, let me make sure I get this here. Got something a little different here versus what we've done in the past. Okay, there it is. Okay, so I have one of these here. So check this out. Here is a press guide for Jerry Nadeau in the Michael Holligan car, and I want to give a big shout out to Bill Ramsey, who was very kind enough to share some of his collection, was selling off some of his collection of old press guides here, and I saw this one there, and I had to grab it there. So big thanks to Bill out there for that and for sharing that as well. So this just came in just a few days ago here, and kind of checking out this. Now, of course, Jerry Nadeau being a big part of kind of the theme this weekend here, not just the accident that Kurt Busch had at Richmond there, but also just being discussed in general. Of course, Dale Jr.'s appearance here just a while back as well, and going, thinking back to doing, of course, the video on him there. Kind of wanted to kind of touch on a couple of little bits here. I mean, what's great with these press guides, it's such a, again, another vestige, much like the contingency decals, that's just lost to time. Of course, when the internet wasn't that big, although in 2000 it was well on its way, there's already email addresses and everything for team members. You'd have these folders of information with the company letterhead and everything, and even the business card of the Cotter Group that backed Nadeau's advance there through the ranks. And just see all kinds of great little information. Sometimes they'd have postcards in here. This one has mostly is just the letterhead. But you can get like race results and the team roster, all kinds of interesting details here. Let's see. Like if you want to get an actual profile on each of the crew members, you get a full list here. We actually have Rodney Combs Sr. and Rodney Combs Jr. I assume that's the same Rodney Combs that ran in the Xfinity Series or the Cup Series for the Mueller brothers years ago. Actually listed on the sheet here, but pretty neat with the lineup on that. We kind of did this a little bit last week with the Darlington program. I want to see if I can get a good section on some captions to read here for this. This particular one, now this is interesting too. Apparently, by 2000, they were producing these. It wasn't just like they produced a whole lot of them in Daytona and just distributed them through the year. Some of these actually have updates that are much closer to the event coming up. This was actually printed leading into the Martinsville race, the spring Martinsville race, the Goodies Body Paint 500 in April of 2000. And this actually has a race review preview of that here as well. I'll kind of check out this here at the same time. It says, Nadeau looks ahead to the Goodies Body Paint 500. Our car was pretty good in testing. This is my first race here with Hendrick Motorsports, and we have two cars that are fairly close. During the test, we mainly worked on setting up the car in race mode. We came to Martinsville to find out what would and wouldn't work, and then put all of our notes together for the race. I've never really raced well at Martinsville before, but being with these guys is great. They have a pretty good track record here and seem to run well here in race mode. Hendrick cars turn a lot better than anything else I've ever driven here. And it does show his results here with the best finish of 26th in his first four starts, 98 and 99 between the Melling team and the Elliott Marino Motorsports effort. Let's see here. So let's see, we got the year-by-year stats for Jerry here. Let's see So again, back when you didn't have racingreference.info, if you wanted the actual full career stats, you have this entire sheet here. This goes all the way back to his, actually goes through the first rounds of the 2000 season, including, now, of course, this Martinsville race came right after the spring Texas race, where he did finish in last place. This, of course, being the same spring Texas race where Adam Petty made his Cup debut and Dale Jr. won his first Cup Series race. And in this time capsule here, it stops really at that moment and at that earlier event. That was the other Jerry Nadeau connection I was thinking about. The fact that they were featuring a lot of that 2001 Dover race that, of course, was run after the September 11th attacks. Dale Jr. being the winner of that event, and Jerry Nadeau very nearly pulling off that win, coming from 41st in a 43-car field to finish a very close runner-up to Earnhardt. In fact, he was on the same straightaway there with inside of the number 8. Could have very easily been the number 25 car flying that American flag in victory lane. But Junior was not to be denied in that particular event. Let's see what we got here. We got details on Hendrick Motorsports. Let me try to find a good clip here. The roster. I don't see any postcards on this. I think this, again, it just has the sheets here. Has the address to Melanie Whitfield, who was so nice to comment on the Jerry Nadeau video and got me in touch with Jerry there. She's actually mentioned as part of the contact sheet here on that. Let's see. This is interesting. This is something I didn't really talk too much about in the video because I didn't have a ton of information on it. There actually are some good clips here about who Michael Holligan actually is and what the company was. Let me pull those out because that'll give us a little bit more context on that. These here look like that. Let's see. So this is from the actual signing of Holligan. Let me do this. Like a Holligan feature. Here we go. Okay, so here's this one here. Let me jump into this one. We got this here. It says Michael Holligan, NASCAR is the best way to build brand awareness. And Dateline is Dallas. The Michael Holligan companies reached more than 360 million people in 1999 through their presence on the internet, in USA Today, and on syndicated and cable television. But President Michael Holligan believes the newest tool in the company's marketing arsenal, sponsoring the number 25 Michael Holligan Chevrolet NASCAR Winston Cup entry driven by Jerry Nadeau, will be its most effective. Being involved as a sponsor in NASCAR is the best way to build brand awareness and, more importantly, brand loyalty, Holligan said of his company's foray into the motorsports arena. This is important to the building contractors we work with and for consumer traffic to our website. Holligan brings a new category of sponsor to NASCAR racing and feels there will be more in the coming years. I believe there will be a huge increase in the number of non-traditional sponsors as NASCAR continues to grow, he said. Well, he's pretty right about that. Packaged goods still will use NASCAR as a platform to distinguish themselves from other similar products. But new business is where most of the growth will come, especially the .com business, where you have thousands of startups that need to build more brand awareness and brand loyalty. This, of course, being before the .com bubble burst. Most .com companies are wasting tens of millions of dollars on television and in print, where they build only temporary awareness and zero brand loyalty. Holligan continued, a number of these businesses will find they can build long-term awareness and intense brand loyalty in NASCAR. As has been the history of NASCAR, the timing is perfect. The new television package coincides with the technological revolution that will affect every distribution system in the country. Holligan, here he goes, a little background on who Holligan is, actually. Holligan started Dallas-based Holligan Homes with his father Harold in 1990, when they discovered an untapped market of home buyers who wanted better-built homes and needed advice on how to locate or purchase them. In 1999, Holligan Homes was sold to independent builders as franchise locations. Home builders across the country have begun converting their existing home building operations into Michael Holligan franchises. I almost said franchisees. The primary focus of the Michael Holligan companies is selling building supplies and services to home builders, contractors, and subcontractors through the internet. Holligan's system allows contractors to order building materials in the field on a Palm Pilot without using a telephone, salesperson, or paper. What technology? Besides saving money on the cost of materials and an overhead, the contractors also benefit from Holligan's national marketing. MichaelHolligan.com receives thousands of requests each month from consumers looking for contractors in their area. Holligan's internet system routes these consumers to contractors who purchase materials from MichaelHolligan.com. Okay, so again, kind of typical of a lot of these .com kind of deals back in the day, where they're trying to consolidate everything and do like, oh, we advise you on this and we help you get this. Like something you could probably do on your own if you use like traditional methods, like, the Yellow Pages or just contacting your friend. It's like, oh, no. You can buy supplies from us, and then we have contractors to help you build this. And we have a TV show, and we have a website. Go to our website. I mean, this is a wonderful time capsule, the way the internet business used to be. And you can see how, if you were marketing this and saying, okay, well, this is what our company does, is like we help you make these connections, but like what services do they actually have? What stock of supplies do they have? Yeah, that's kind of an interesting little detail. The Palm Pilot thing that tickles me there too. I don't even know, do those still exist? I don't even know. Yeah. Holligan grew up racing motocross motorcycles, was first exposed to the marketing potential of NASCAR Winston Cup racing in 1997. Syndicated to 130 local broadcast stations, e-commerce company specializing in the sale of building and other company products and services. Website attracts 400,000 visitors monthly at michaelholligan.com. Let's see. Okay, well, yeah. Well, there you go. So that was a part. I mean, I do remember that the sponsor was specifically interested in Jerry. It doesn't say it in here, but I know that came up along the way. Hendrick Motorsports. Yeah. So there you go. Huh. So there's a little bit of extra context there on that as well. Teams has the most votes. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do teams for that category there. But yeah, a little bit of view behind the scenes there. And this is, again, I think it's kind of quaint, again, having basically a folder of just information. And again, for those of you tuning in a little bit later here, this is the cover of it here, the Michael Holligan press guide there for Jerry Nadeau back in the 2000 season. But it's nice that, and of course, this is all put together by a PR group and everything, and this is the information they want you to use if you're going to be talking about the team or doing a profile on them, kind of get a ground level thing there. But again, nowadays, yeah, you Google whatever, and it's, the information comes up. But it's still nice that, there's some stuff in here that I could Google today, and it just doesn't come up. And it just shows that, some information just gets lost over time, and it's kind of fun to try to find it out. So these are just absolutely buried treasure. If you haven't had a chance, check out some of these. And again, I would recommend, Bill Ramsey and others out there in Facebook groups out there collect a lot of these. And if you're ever interested in the backstory on a particular driver, you can do a lot worse than checking out one of these. So definitely wanted to feature that tonight here as well. So teams have the most votes, so we'll go ahead and do that. Breezy V, you're getting a little cheeky there. Okay, that's all right. All right, we're going to do teams as the most votes. Blake, thank you for keeping track of that. We'll do that one here as well and do a few questions here. So the first question for tonight, what crew chief served Bobby Allison's team for a decade? Don't look it up. Try to guess it here. What crew chief served Bobby Allison's team for a decade? That is our first question of the evening here. Now that we've reached, it's now midnight on the East Coast, 9 o'clock here on Pacific time. Thank you again for those of you tuning in tonight here as well. Let me keep this out here. I'm going to kind of check this as well. Playoff grid shows, wow, Kurt Busch tied with Bowman for the bubble spot there. Busch given the spot there, I guess, based on finishes there over Bowman. Reddick, Byron, and McDowell closing out the bottom four. The unofficial results still showing Kurt as the only driver that actually fell out of the race. So, yes, everybody finished within 15 laps of the leader. Very reminiscent of the spring race there. Still no news on technical inspection, so we'll stand by here and wait for those results to come in. And, of course, if you guys have any other questions from the action this week, we'll post that as well. What crew chief served Bobby Allison's team for a decade? We had guesses for Jimmy Fennig. We got Junior Johnson. I think most of you guys had Fennig. I mean, let's see if you got it here. The answer is indeed Jimmy Fennig. You got it. Right on. I'm glad the audio is coming up okay. What I'd done in the past is use this other microphone stand, but it just became more and more difficult to get the microphone out of. You can probably see it over my shoulder here. It's kind of the shadow of it back there. That's the other stand where I set up my microphone when I'm doing videos, so I can do it standing up, and it works a lot better. But it's always a pain trying to get it out of these little collar things here, and it just gets stuck. So if this is still working here, we'll probably just stick with this here in the meantime. So hopefully that works. I'll listen to this afterwards and make sure it's sounding okay. Next question here. What owner fielded cars for Terry Labonte and Sterling Marlin in the 80s? What car owner fielded cars for Terry Labonte and Sterling Marlin in the 80s? That is our next question. All right. Just keep this up here at the same time. Check my notes too. Make sure I didn't miss anything on what I was going to cover here this evening. Oh, wow, goodness. All right. Yeah, we already did that. Okay. What owner fielded cars? Oh, let me get the right tab open here. Fielded cars for Terry Labonte and Sterling Marlin in the 80s. Okay, we got Billy Hagan. We got several here. Dunleavy, Piedmont car for Terry. See, a lot of you getting sponsored too, and I believe you are correct. And it is indeed Billy Hagan. Billy Hagan is the – oh, there we go. Give it a focus a little better than it usually does. That's the other thing, too. And I put the microphone here. I'm basically, my feet are kind of moving back over here, and it looks a little weird. So we'll probably just move the microphone closer and see how that goes. All righty. What? Okay. Oh, here we go. Next question. What independent racer did Rick Hendrick reach out to help at Charlotte in 1987? What independent racer did Rick Hendrick reach out to help at Charlotte in 1987? Yeah, you got the sponsor right. You did indeed. What independent racer did Rick Hendrick reach out to help at Charlotte in 1987? That's the thing. With the NBC video, I actually did it. The reason that camera angle is the way it is because I actually was using it on this other stand back here. And I had it actually so that the audio would record from the microphone. But then for my phone, it actually wasn't too different. It actually kind of sounded about the same. So I ended up just dropping that audio. A little bit of a reveal. Actually, for those of you, I probably should do a video on this DVD rack back here to show kind of what other videos I got back there. Because you can see a few of them on that side there. So if you're curious about like some videos in the collection there, you get to see a few of them in there as well. So I'll probably do something for the Patreon or something like that to follow up on that. All right, a lot of you guys guessed it, and you are correct. Jimmy Means is the correct answer, of course. Jimmy Smut Means. All righty. What car owner has a record 8 wins at Charlotte? Now, this is, again, as of the late 90s, a little different there. What car owner has a record 8 wins at Charlotte? What car owner has a record 8 wins at Charlotte? So let's assume this is like 98, 99, kind of in that range. So as of that point, what car owner had a record 8 wins at Charlotte? Yeah, different group of drivers. Yeah. Or is it? Could be. Could be one way or the other. Back to Code Red again for the evening here. We did indeed order it, so we're good to go there. Car owner has a record 8 wins at Charlotte. Thank you guys also for your comments on the September 11th video I posted on there. I won't go into it there tonight because I made that a standalone there. But obviously, you know, with today being the day that it is, if you are curious about, my thoughts on that or memories or anything like that, I invite you to check out that video. But again, if you're not interested, that's A-okay as well. May do some more vlogs on this channel. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't expect that to be a major part of this channel, but for things like that don't really fit into, that's probably going to be the way I'm going to approach it. I'll just have it be a standalone video, so if you're curious about it, but I think it's going to be where I'll kind of do that. And if that works for you guys, that's cool. And let's see. Alrighty, so what car owner has a record 8 wins at Charlotte? The answer is Junior Johnson. A few of you got that one, I think. Junior Johnson is indeed the correct answer. WF Hornet, you got that one. Charles Peterson Jr. So there you go. All righty. Next question. What car owner has a record 11 wins at Michigan? What car owner has a record 11 wins at Michigan? All right, record 11 wins at Michigan here tonight. Let me refresh this again here. Nope, no updates in 34 minutes we have here. This is something I definitely want to talk about here too. Justin Thomas, big thanks to him for posting this picture here of Morgan Shepherd back at the racetrack. Of course, feature of one of the episodes of Rise of the Field Fillers, gave a fantastic interview over the winter. Morgan Shepherd back at the racetrack, meeting up with Landon Castle and others during the Xfinity race earlier today. Unfortunately, not with the team there at the track, but both he and his wife, Cindy. Certainly good to see them back out there. Hope they're certainly doing well. And hopefully this is an indication that we're going to see them at the track a lot more in the coming weeks. I don't know if they'll make it out to Vegas when we cover in a couple weeks, but we'll certainly be keeping an eye out from there. But good to see him back out there for sure. And especially at a track where he'd run, well, gosh, he was a pole sitter at the fairgrounds in 1988. Had quite the career at that track alone. So a lot of history there that man has experienced. And it was wonderful being able to speak to him over the winter for that video. Alrighty. What car owner has a record 11 wins at Michigan? I'm seeing a lot of guesses for the Wood Brothers, Jack Roush. And the answer is indeed the Wood Brothers. The Wood Brothers is the correct answer. So who's retires for that race in '88? Well, there you go. I did not remember that, but there you go. It was driving for Tom Winkle, I believe. It was the guy that originally bought up JD's team, and then it kind of branched off from there with the AC Sparkplug sponsorship. least I believe it was the same team. It seemed like they kind of they reincorporated themselves a couple of different ways there after they parted ways with the 70. Hendrick probably has the most wins in Charlotte now. Yeah, that's probably the case. This is ball before Jimmy Johnson. So you got that there too. All righty. Here's a fun one. How about this? Check this out, folks. What car owner has a record 8 wins at Riverside? Think about that one. What car owner has a record 8 wins at Riverside? The old Riverside International Raceway. Got to go back into the archives on that one. What car owner has a record 8 wins at Riverside is the question. Alrighty. Let me get this here. Control tire. Yeah, no updates there. Still, okay. So I guess it's for Wood Brothers, Junior Johnson, Bud Moore. Yeah, this might throw me off. Wood Brothers or Holman Moody. Tough call. I'll read it again here. What car owner has a record 8 wins at Riverside? 8 wins at Riverside. Yeah, bizarre one. Definitely a bizarre one. Not a usual one here. Thank you to the night crew coming on board here. It looks like we're going to run a little long. I might drop the trailer. Might drop the trailer for episode 8 here. And then we'll do that there for that. Okay, I guess it's for Holman Moody. Final answer. Okay, well, let's find out. What car owner has a record 8 wins at Riverside? The answer is the Wood Brothers. The Wood Brothers, indeed. So a lot of you got that. Blake Thiemann, Glenn 7000, WF Hornets. Yeah, so you're on the right edge there. Yeah, Holman Moody's a good guess. But the Wood Brothers, I guess the Dan Gurney wins. A lot of those certainly slinging it in their favor. Here we go. Next question here. Where did Kyle Petty win his first race driving for the Wood Brothers in 1986? Where did Kyle Petty win his first race driving for the Wood Brothers in 1986? All righty. Where did Kyle Petty win his first race driving for the Wood Brothers in 1986? You guys are too good. Of course, it was the same track we just saw a race at. Richmond, indeed. Richmond is the correct answer. Yep, you guys got it. You got it. What crew chief set the World Pit Crew Competition speed record in 1994? What crew chief set the World Pit Crew Competition speed record in 1994? Yeah, there we go. Another crew chief question. What crew chief set the World Pit Crew Competition speed record in 1994? 94. Good question. Yeah, Andrew, you. What's your sports viewing schedule for tomorrow? We have IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the Bills. Oh yes, we do have the Bills. Absolutely. I assume because they did the Tampa game the other night. Yeah, I'm kind of juggling it around. I kind of keeping it pretty open ended. Truth be told, actually, I'm going to be recording a couple of scripts tomorrow. Well, I'm not quite really ready to announce what that exactly is for, but it is something very big that's in the works here. And I think you guys will be very interested in. We'll have more news on that coming along the way. But I do need to record it tomorrow because I need to be able to stay on schedule with Vegas and everything else coming up here, as well as this is not including, of course, the starting grid video that my patrons voted on for Talladega. That'll be after we get back from Vegas. I'll be working on that at that point. But there is another project that I'm working on here that I need to kind of get ahead of here, which is why I've been trying to get more done on the Andy Belmont episode that I think will be very exciting. So we'll have some more information on that once we get a little bit further along there. What crew chief set the world pit crew competition speed record in 1994 is the question. I guess it's for Andy Petrie, Ray Evernham, Larry Mack. Let's see. F1, not NASCAR. Or F1? Okay. Alrighty. And the answer is Ray Evernham. Ray Evernham is indeed the correct answer. Whoop. It gets into focus at just the right spot there. What is the NFL schedule tomorrow? I haven't even looked at it. It feels like it just yesterday I put my Bills gear back in the box downstairs after they decided to not show up at that game against Kansas City. Let's see, schedule. Okay, there we go. Okay, Minnesota's got Cincinnati, Cleveland, and okay, the Browns got to start with Kansas City. Wow. Okay. Where is that? Oh, the Bills got to play Steelers. Wow. Okay, that'll be a good matchup. Hopefully. Okay, right on. Bills versus Steelers. Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, there you go. Who do I think is the best crew chief of all time? I mean, I rather admire Ray Evernham. I think anything around Jeff Gordon, I think was just magic, and it was seismic when he left that team to start the Dodge effort. And I think just his accomplishments, not just all the success he had with Gordon, but then the success with Dodge, almost single-handedly having to shoulder that effort. And now what he's done with the SRX series, that's a lot for any one career, much less three. So I think that's pretty impressive. Now it's so hard to measure him against the absolute greats, from even further back, your Dale Inmans, your Ray Foxes, your others from there. It's a tough call, but yeah, I kind of want to vote for Evernham on that one. So tough to say. Next question. What driver started the most races for car owner Buck Baker throughout the 60s? What driver started the most races for car owner Buck Baker throughout the 60s? Burn that shirt. You're not crazy about the Logano shirt, huh? He's my fantasy pick tonight. So he did not, he didn't do terrible. He didn't do terrible, but he did okay. He did okay. But yeah, I know people aren't too crazy about this guy here. What driver started the most races for car owner Buck Baker throughout the 60s? Yeah, Chad Knaus was the rear changer of the 24 team in 1994. There you go. What driver started the most races for car owner Buck Baker throughout the 60s? Yeah, it's a trick question, is it? Hard to tell. Gosh, they're taking forever. Technical inspection. This is where it's getting a little tricky here, folks. If you guys want me to stick around here for a technical inspection, just let me know. I feel like I probably should, but there you go. All righty. What driver started the most races for car owner Buck Baker throughout the 60s? The answer is, it is a trick question. It's Buck Baker. It is a trick question. Josh Malicki, there you go. Fun one. Jason Toth, you got it. You got it. There we go. Uh-oh. Oh, we got, there we go. Went back into focus. Okay, right on. Let's see. Here we go. Next question here. Who did Elliott's team buy a beat-up Ford Torino from to race at Rockingham in 1976? Who did Elliott's team buy a beat-up Ford Torino from, to race at Rockingham in 1976? Yeah, tricky question. Who did Bill Elliott's team buy a beat-up Ford Torino from to race at Rockingham in 1976? Okay, it's only been over an hour. Okay, right on. Disqualifications are not unheard of at Richmond. We did have that one, I guess, was it last year or the year before, where Christopher Bell was disqualified after he finished in 4th place. Gosh, you never know. You never know. If you guys see any calls here on the inspection, I know you guys are good at keeping an eye on that. Definitely let me know. Alrighty. Who did Elliott's team buy a beat-up Ford Torino from to race at Rockingham in 1976? Alrighty, answer coming up. The answer is indeed Bobby Allison. Bobby Allison. You know, so many people talk about all the lives Dale Earnhardt touched in his career. There are so many others where Bobby Allison has played a figure in it too. It's really amazing. And let this be another one. Bobby Allison is the correct answer. I would not have guessed that. Of course, Bobby ran pretty much every other manufacturer. This is the 10th question, and I've only got 6 right. The first 5 I got right. Okay, Charles, you're rocking and rolling. I guess these last few have been particularly challenging. Okay, well, let's see. We did a few on this. Okay, we're running a little long here, and we covered the races a lot quicker than I thought it would. I guess I was drinking a little bit too much Code Red tonight. But let me see. I got some other things here. Okay, how about this? I have a little box right here. Let's get the little box out. And make sure this is the right box. Okay, good. This is the right box. Now, putting some more effort back into the show and other stuff for this, I have acquired other trivia questions here. A couple things here. I guess it's a little bonus show and tell segment here. So I got these playing cards from the early, looks like earlier mid 90s. They have trivia questions on them. And I also picked up this little blue box in here that has another 1,000 trivia questions in it from, I believe it was a Richard Petty endorsed game. But I found these here. And so we now have plenty of trivia questions, even beyond that thing on there. And maybe we'll do a couple here just to kind of kick this off to thank you guys for sticking around here on a late night here. And we'll do a test of a couple of these here before we kind of weave these in to our main show here for Bristol and the other races coming up here. So let me pick one out of the stack here on this one. This is actually kind of interesting. This set of playing cards here, it has an entire 1997 Winston Cup schedule card here. It actually has everything down to there you go. Has down to the Twin Ring Motegi, or I guess the Suzuka Circuit Land race. So Motegi wasn't until 98. So you got 97 schedule on here. So it's kind of interesting. Let me see here. Let me just pull one out here. Let's see what we got. Okay. All right. So we got a true-false question on this one. True or false? Tire changers used to store extra lug nuts in their mouths during pit stops. So leading off with this one here, I'm not sure exactly what the skill level is on these here, but we'll find out. This being the 5 of spades here. True or false? Tire changers used to store extra lug nuts in their mouths during pit stops. Alrighty, yep, you guys got it. You are absolutely, yep, ew, true, yep, correct. Answer is true. There you go. Actually, show it on the card there. Bam, there we go. Focus just right there. Let me just even get a harder one. It says facts and rules for all ages and interest levels. Okay, we'll see. Maybe the ace of spades will be like the hardest one, or the ace of hearts here. Yeah, let's see. What do we got? Yeah. These might be a little bit too easy here. Well, let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Let me see here. No. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Queen of Spades. How many sets of fathers and sons have won NASCAR Winston Cup races? So we'll assume as of 1997. How many sets of fathers and sons have won NASCAR Winston Cup races? The Kings have petty questions? Okay, now that's pretty good. I like that. Maybe we'll have to, we'll have to pull it up. Let me see. Maybe they do. Maybe it should be pretty funny. It's about to turn to 52 pickup here. No, this one doesn't. It's, yeah. That would be good, though. I like that idea. All righty. How many sets of fathers and sons have won NASCAR Winston Cup races is the question. We got guesses for 6s and 3s and 4s and 5s. Okay, as of 1997, how many sets of fathers and sons have won NASCAR Winston Cup races? You can name them if you want. You don't have to name them. That's not included in the answer here. All righty. How many sets of fathers and sons have won NASCAR Winston Cup races? The answer is 5. Whoop, focus. Boom, there we go. 5 is the correct answer. Does not say which 5, but I think you were on the right track there. Jarrett, there you go. You got Charles Peterson. There you go. You came close. 5 is correct. Petty twice. There you go. Jarrett, Baker, Allison. So there you go. Here we go. Here we go. Here's a good one. 3 of hearts. True or false? A driver once won the NASCAR Winston Cup title while driving for more than one owner. And a little bonus point on this one because it does give the answer here. See if you can guess the year that it happened as well. So true or false? And if true, what year? A driver once won the NASCAR Winston Cup title while driving for more than one owner. Okay. I kind of like the little graphic package on here. That's the other thing that kind of sold me. It's kind of got this half. Again, one thing that always tickles me with NASCAR productions is when they try to make default paint jobs. Like they make ones that don't actually exist, but they kind of look like real ones. And I like how it has kind of this half Oldsmobile, half Pontiac looking paint job at the front. It's kind of like looks like a Marlboro stripe down the front of it. That always kind of intrigues me there. No, I like that. True or false? Yeah, driver once won the NASCAR Winston Cup title while driving for more than one owner. Okay, we got guesses for 1982, 1963, true 1963. Yeah, the Pontsmobile, exactly. Alrighty. And the answer is indeed true 1963 for as many as 5 different car manufacturers. So indeed, the Joe Weatherly guess is correct, 1963. And not only for different owners, but 5 different car manufacturers. So Glenn 7000, like you just got ahead of Maserati 9 on that. So right on. Yeah, 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 yeah. Mm, yeah. Wow. Yeah, these are actually these are pretty good ones. If you're with somebody that like it's pretty basic. Oh, okay. Well, here we go. Here we go. I say that, and then I see this one. All right. 10 of diamonds. How many races does NASCAR sanction per year? I probably should have done this for Vegas because these are playing cards, but maybe. But then again, I don't know. Maybe we'll do something with that. Yeah, that would have made more sense. See, I don't plan these things very well. Okay, so that would be the one. This makes good. Let's get a royal flush of this. How many races does NASCAR sanction per year? That is the question. How many races does NASCAR sanction per year? All right, I guess it's for 30 and 36. Do we have a call on inspection? Looks like we do. That's good. We'll confirm here. All right, yes. Pakras posted 3 minutes ago. Tech complete. Truex is the winner. Haley Carr had 2 loose lug nuts, $20,000 fine, and 1 race crew chief suspension for Kevin Belcourt. Truex had 1 loose lug, a $10,000 fine, with no suspension for crew chief James Small. So congratulations, Martin Truex Jr. on the victory. And unfortunately, last place finish for Kurt Busch on the website there will be featured later tonight. We'll wrap up here with the questions and go from there. All righty. Yeah, 1997 is when these cards were printed. Yeah, I like that idea for Vegas. Maybe I'll bring these here for Vegas. All these questions aren't. Maybe we'll do like a lightning round thing. See who gets it the quickest. That'll probably be the way to do it. Something like that would probably be the challenge. All righty. How many races does NASCAR sanction per year? We'll go ahead and make this last question for the evening here. And the answer is more than 2,000. It's talking about, I guess it's talking about weekly sanctioned races as well. More than 2,000. Stump the group there. How many races does NASCAR sanction per year? So weekly racing series, regional stuff. More than 2. It doesn't even give you a firm number. More than 2,000. Yeah, it's not just talking about the Cup Series. Yeah, Tom Anderson, you were on the right track there. Very close. All righty. So tech inspection complete there for Kurt Busch. Yeah, crazy one. I wouldn't have expected that one either. I would have got that completely wrong. We'll save the other questions here for a later show. What I'm going to do here is let me grab this while I'm thinking about it. If I can do this without closing the window to this video. Whoop, hang on. Alrighty. Okay, so thank you everyone for tuning in here. I know it's late at night here, but we'll wrap up the show here for tonight. For those of you who came in here a little bit later, our next show is going to be after the Bristol race. It's not going to be on Saturday night. I do have an obligation next week. The show is actually going to be on Sunday evening, and on that same day, I do plan on debuting episode 8 of Rise of the Field fillers. And since you've been such an awesome group here tonight, I'm going to drop the trailer into the chat, and you can check it anytime you'd like. And it is at that link right there. So the premiere of episode 8 of Rise of the Field Fillers is going to be next week. We'll do a live stream to sum up both the Bristol action from the Truck Series, Xfinity, and the Cup Series, as well as that show afterwards. And we'll just tie it all together with that. And that'll also be a preview for our upcoming trackside coverage at Las Vegas. So without any further ado, I'll let you guys check that out here. Make sure you get a chance to bookmark that link there. It'll be publicly available tomorrow, so you'll get the same chance, but you get a chance to check it out a little bit before everybody, after the Patreon, but before it goes public there. So enjoy that as well. If you can check out lastcar.info for the website, the Patreon is patreon.com/lastcaronbrock. And of course, the Twitter feed at lastcaronbrock for more poorly aged tweets. And you can enjoy more of the content from there. So have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And you can definitely check out that link as well. So it'll come up. Yeah, I'm going to make sure. I'm kind of stalling a little bit to make sure it still shows up in the chat when I close the video here afterwards. So you can check that out there as well. I was reading somebody's stuff about sanctioned races. Okay, right on. So, yeah, have a great evening, everyone. And I will see you next Sunday.